Hi, welcome to City Connections. I'm Steve Kime. I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Public Relations and Marketing for the City of Enid. And one of the best things about my role, there's some things that aren't real glamorous, but one of the glamorous things, I get to meet the greatest people. We have folks come through Enid on their way to wherever, but I had the opportunity to spend sometimes 30 minutes with them. And today we have a special guest. This young lady's, she won some pageants, if you will. She's a school teacher. She's smarter than me because she teaches physics, science, and stuff like that. And to be honest, I don't even know if I even took those classes so long ago. But this young lady has gone on mission trips, if you will, to Central America and to Africa. And that's just the beginning. We're going to find out more. My special guest today on City Connections is the 2014 Miss Oklahoma, and the young lady's name is Alex Eppler. Alex,
hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let me just say it right off the bat. You look like, I was going to say a queen, but is that the word?
You can say queen, princess, any of those
things. The princess,
things.
Okay. Well, you look like Miss Oklahoma. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that took place in September of 2014.
It was in June, Miss Oklahoma. That's okay.
Oh.
And Miss America was
Miss
in
America
September.
Is September. Okay.
Yes, the national championships of all pageants.
I can't even keep my
That's
dates straight.
okay.
We're going to talk about Miss Oklahoma. We're going to talk about the Miss America pageant and a variety of things. So thank you for joining us on City Connections. Well, right off the bat, Alex, what inspired you? I mean, you look now and say, yeah, she's a fit for pageants. But what was the inspiration for you some time ago to be involved in pageants?
I think a lot of people assume that if you do a pageant, that means that you grew up doing pageants. And I am not a huge fan of Toddlers and Tiaras. There's some people that might love that show, but I don't. And I was not one of those people. And I was a tomboy growing up. I mean, I ate bugs in the backyard, and I was always digging in the dirt. And my best friend in kindergarten, his name was Sam, and we played pirates together every single day. So it wasn't until when I was a senior in high school, I had a good friend of mine, her name's Jennifer. And she was a former Miss Kansas. And I babysat her kids in their church nursery. And she came to me and she said, would you ever think about doing a pageant? I was like, no, absolutely not. And she told me about the scholarship money. And my parents were very supportive of me going to college and going to college at OU, but I knew that scholarships would really assist in that endeavor. And so when she told me that scholarship piece of it, I was very intrigued. Not to mention, I love performing and I love being in front of people, and my talent's dancing. So she kind of introduced me to it. So I was a senior in high school, and I competed for 6 years until I won Miss Oklahoma. And I won Miss Oklahoma my last year of eligibility. So I'm officially a grandmother in the pageant world.
Wow. Interesting. So from pirates to Miss Oklahoma,
Yes.
that's an impressive resume.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your honesty, because a lot of people say, yeah, she probably did this all of her life, but it's good to share those experiences, say, no, not all of us fall into that stereotypical look, if you will.
Exactly.
I want to talk about your experience of Miss Oklahoma in just a moment, but I want to jump fast forward to the Miss America pageant.
Yes.
That experience, what was the biggest surprise for you in that Miss America pageant? Was it the people you met, or what was the biggest, most memorable experience?
Again, I think there's always an assumption with pageants and the girls that compete in pageants. And my assumption before going to Miss America was that all of the girls would be very catty and very competitive and very, focused on the prize and not so much the experience. And it wasn't until I got there, I realized that all 53 other girls I was competing with were insecure. And we all have our own faults. We all have things we don't like about ourselves. We're all nervous. We're all scared. We all don't know what's going on. And just to be able to connect with people that were going through the same thing you were going through, that was very surprising to me. And we were very busy. I mean, we had, 15, 16-hour days. We had filming. ABC did the production. And so there was constant cameras all over. And they film everything that you do. So you have to be just very aware of what's going on around you. But I think the thing that surprised me the most was the girls, the other contestants. And one of my very best friends through Miss America was Miss North Dakota, Jackie. And she actually won Miss Congeniality at Miss America. So I was glad that I chose to be best friends with Miss Congeniality. It was a good pick. So I think that was, to me, the most surprising, but also the best part of it.
We'll talk about later on in the interview that you were you won the swimsuit competition in Miss America, but besides that, what is going to be, besides those relationships, what's going to be the biggest takeaway for you, most memorable experience of
At Miss America?
At Miss America.
Well, there were so many just moments, little snapshots that I loved about going to Miss America. And honestly, it was the hardest 2 weeks of my life, and it was the best 2 weeks of my life. I fractured my foot 6 days before I left for Miss America, and I tore 2 ligaments in my ankle, and I usually have no mercy for anybody who has an injury. I kind of just say, well, get on with your life and move forward, and
Right.
Pain is weakness leaving the body kind of thing, and until I experienced this. And so to me, the most memorable thing was being able to dance on national television and get through my dance with a smile on my face. And honestly, it was the grace of God, because one night I called my traveling companion and I said, I can't do this. I literally cannot even stand up to walk to the bathroom. And I was in a boot for 7 days before I had to put on a high heel. And the first time I put on a high heel was walking into interview, just minutes before walking into interview. And it's one of those choices that you make.
Sure.
You make an active choice. Am I gonna let something like this define my experience at Miss America, or am I gonna let it edify me in this experience? And so to me, that was memorable because it was hard. It was very difficult to do, but I was able to accomplish it. I was able to do my dance. And even though my foot was kind of like this, flopping around on stage, I did it. And I was very proud of kind of the willpower, but I had a lot of moments of weakness during that 2 weeks in terms of my foot.
And these are great experiences, or great stories to share with our audience, because not everything is picture perfect. Not everything just lays out like it should.
Right.
There's some real behind the scenes, behind the camera, real life trauma or
Yes.
challenges that individuals face.
Exactly.
My special guest today is Miss Oklahoma for 2014, Alex Eppler, and she was contestant at Miss America. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Miss America experience. A question that my wife had presented to me, she goes, if you get a chance to talk to Alex, ask her about the bathing suit competition at Miss America. And I'm sure there's people watching say, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of balance. It takes a lot of gumption. It takes, that's an Oklahoma word of gumption,
Yes.
of just going to do this. But what is your focus, and maybe some of the other contestants' focus? You're in a bathing suit. It's 2-piece. There may not be a lot there. You're in heels. National televised audience and an auditorium. What's your focus when you're doing that?
Well, I will say it's not a natural thing to wear a bikini and high heels. I don't go to the beach in that outfit.
So you don't practice. Okay.
Exactly. But it is all about confidence. And I think every girl has their own little thing that they think about. And I think about Beyonce. I think about how she performs. She's the queen bee, and she just kind of rules the stage. And I just think about exuding that, because a lot of times we say when you're competing, you do well in swimsuit from the neck up. And I love that, because the focus is not necessarily on your body. And there is this huge stigma. We could talk for way more than a few minutes about just the ideology and the stigma behind female bodies and projecting them and being in a swimsuit on stage in front of millions of people. But to me, it's the neck up. It's what you're exuding on your face, because if you look at a woman's face when she's in a bikini, you can tell how she feels about herself. And the past year, I did a 365-day daily fitness tip of the day. And I posted it to my Instagram account. And to me, I had to really redefine how I thought about my body and how I looked. And it could not be about just the look. It had to be about how I felt. And so every single day I posted a different, I called it a hashtag FTOTD, fitness tip of the day. And I would post motivational quotes or recipes or workouts or just inspiration to be healthy. And I mean, the next stage of my life is going to be in the medical field. And my kind of heart, mission, and passion is about wellness, not about being healthy and not about being how you look. So wellness is body, mind, spirit. That's kind of my perspective. So thinking about all of that in preparation, but honestly thinking about Beyonce while I'm actually on stage in those heels.
Interesting. Now we know.
Yes,
Let's back up a little bit and talk a little bit about the Miss Oklahoma pageant. It seems like in my professional career, it seems like I've had these steps along the way that this prepared me for this part of my life, and then this prepared me for the next professional level of my life and stuff like that. What prepared you to walk off the stage as Miss Oklahoma? back in 2014?
I definitely think that being a teacher was one of those things. I had been out of school for 2 years when I had won Miss Oklahoma. And college, we can all agree that college is one of those times that really shapes you as a person and defines your character in a lot of ways. But when I became a teacher, it's one of those jobs that you show up every day for people other than yourself. And every day I had to realize that how I felt didn't necessarily matter. It was about what I did for those students. And I was never really allowed to have a bad day. As a teacher, your job is to motivate, inspire, instruct, and teach the students that are in front of you. And to me, that perspective is what Miss Oklahoma is. When I show up to an assembly and I speak to 1,000 students or 100 students or 50 students, I am in front of them, and it doesn't matter if I'm sick, if I'm sad, if I'm upset about something, I still have to motivate and inspire them. And I kind of said this earlier at the breakfast this morning, Miss Oklahoma should be somebody that inspires other people in 30 seconds. She might have 30 seconds with a student to potentially change his or her life. So to me, teaching was that thing that really kind of changed my perspective. When you're in college, it's kind of about yourself, your grades, if you're working, graduating maybe debt-free or getting that degree, all of those things, it's all about you. But when you kind of go out in the real world, I'll say, in my 24 years of life, that job was about others. And so to me, that was the thing that put me on a different level.
Well, you certainly were an exhorter and an encourager when you were speaking at the mayor's breakfast, the State of the City address. We'll talk a little bit about more of the passions and mission that you have in your particular life. I understand that you graduated from the University of Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner. A medical science degree, and understand that you taught high school science and physics and things of this nature. So along with the education part, and you touched on this a little bit about going on towards more of a medical career, what are the goals for Alex for the next 1 or 2 years after your reign as Miss Oklahoma is over with?
I have a 1 week overlap of giving up my title as Miss Oklahoma and starting PA school. So I am going to school to be a physician's assistant.
A whole 1 week?
Yes. And it is a 30-month program, and I'm going to be a Sooner again at the University of Oklahoma Health Science Center in Oklahoma City. And that will be my life. So I will be going from meeting new people every single day to, face-to-face interaction to this, just looking at a book all the time and being in class. So it'll be a very stark contrast one to the other, but I'm looking forward to it. It's something that I've worked very hard for since 10th grade in high school, I would say, is when I decided that I wanted to do this. So it will be very rewarding to finally get there and be sitting in that seat that I worked very hard for.
I think Alex, you touched on this a little bit in the first part of our interview about your preparation to achieve your goals and stuff like that. But more specifically, in the role as ambassador, Miss Oklahoma, how does that prepare you to achieve the goals you set before you?
Being Miss Oklahoma, you are subjected to a lot of criticism. And when you're in front of people, this interview, there's probably people that have already made an assumption about me. And when I go to a school, there's people that assume things about me. Either I dislike Miss Oklahoma, I hate that she's wearing high heels, or oh my gosh, I love her heels. So you kind of get a little bit of everything, feedback from everybody. So you learn to either listen or not to listen. So there's some things that you just have to ignore when you're in front of a large audience, and you just have to keep pressing on to what you believe is your mission. And I think in my future goals, regardless of what anybody says, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do everything that I can to achieve that goal. So nobody's really going to stand in my way. And I had people tell me that I will never be Miss Oklahoma. And I had to make a choice in those moments. Am I going to listen to them, and am I going to let that get down on me, or am I going to choose a different path? Am I going to choose to listen to something greater than that?
Did parents, friends, neighbors, cousins, were those individuals, were they instrumental in providing this desire that you have? Because you could have given up after one try on Miss Oklahoma, but no, Alex said, no, I'm going to keep on pursuing.
Yes.
So can you tell us how you bottled up that persistence, say, no, this is a goal of mine, and I'm just going to do that work?
To me, it's a choice. It's
Okay.
actually very simple. I actually heard a quote one time, and it was, there is a stimulus and there's a response. And in between that, those 2 points, there's space. And that space lies the freedom to choose.
Sounds kind of science here.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there's a formula to everything. So to me, it was an active choice that I always had to make. But I had very excellent role models. My parents were both entrepreneurs, excellent role models. And, my parents at one point, they said, "Are you sure that you want to keep doing this? Are you sure that this is what you want to do?" And I was like, I'm doing this. I am doing this no matter what. And once I decided for myself, they were on board. They wanted it to be my choice.
Sure.
And I will say I'm very thankful for the parents that I have, because they were not overbearing. And I think that created a lot of independence in me. Their goals weren't my goals. My goals were my goals, and they supported those goals. And I think some parents might vicariously live through their daughters or their sons or something. And I'm just glad that my parents supported anything that I chose to do, and they guided me with wisdom. And I'm very lucky that Miss Oklahoma organization is truly a family. And the traveling companions that I go with, they kind of become my moms, my mentors,
Sure.
my sounding boards. And I have had a lot of relationships with people that are involved in pageants that are much deeper than just the pageant part. The pageant part is, 5% of what actually goes on in terms of being Miss Oklahoma.
In preparation for this interview, of course, you go to the internet and you Google things, and that's the gospel truth, right? Anything on the internet. But the more I was reading about Alex Eppler, the fact that she was involved in dancing and that she was a teacher and taught, science and physics and things of this nature. But one thing that caught my eye as I continued to read about Alex was her involvement in an organization called Dare to Care, Random Acts of Kindness. At the mayor's breakfast, you touched on that a little bit, Alex. Dare to Care, Random Acts of Kindness. That's a passion, that's a mission of yours. Tell us about it, if you would, please.
I love the catchphrase Dare to Care, because caring sometimes has to be a dare. You kind of have to intentionally choose to do that. And I mentioned this earlier, random acts of kindness is not random either. The person that's receiving your act of kindness might be random, but the act itself is truly intentional. And a lot of people think that, being kind is, it's such a soft issue, it's puppies and rainbows, and it's not a very serious topic. But when I have students come up to me and they share the impact of the message that kindness has, when I tell students, you matter, some of those students have never heard that in their entire lives. There is one student in that assembly that needs to hear, you are enough and you matter. And if I can be that person, then I'll do it. And I could care less if 99% of the rest of the people hate me or dislike me. If that one student hears that, then my job is done. And my catchphrase for Dare to Care, Random Acts of Kindness is that kindness is the least costly. It is the most underrated, yet is the most powerful agent for human change. And it truly does bother me when people don't capitalize on kindness, because it diffuses any wall, any boundary, and it's not specific to a certain age or group. So bottom line, it's powerful and we should use it more. And it's pretty simple.
Impressive. I really like that, and thank you for sharing that. Yeah. You are one busy young lady. Besides graduating from OU, you're getting ready to go to school in June, as you said. Mission trips has been a part of your life. You've been to Africa, medical mission trips, I guess I should say, maybe down in Central America, Nicaragua, that area, Costa Rica, and that area there. Tell us about, now where do you fit this in, these medical mission trips into your lifestyle?
Well, either, spring break or in the summertime, somewhere in between there. The longest I've gone is a little less than a month on a mission trip. And so they're pretty short term. And, short-term mission trips can bring some controversy because you leave a group of people and you might not come back. So the thing with short-term missions is that you have to educate people, because education lasts a lifetime. And if I, maybe if a doctor prescribes somebody something in Africa, which is what I was a part of, they might get sick again. There's no guarantee that they're going to be well forever. And so the best thing that we can do is educate them. So when I was in Kenya, we helped treat 5,000 patients in the slum of Kibera. And Kibera is the largest slum in Africa with 1.3 million people there. And it's the second largest slum in the entire world, second to the shanty towns in India. And so there is a large population of extreme poverty. And families of 7 and 8 will live in a house no bigger than a queen-size bed. And they'll all pile on top of each other. So when you have that perspective, maybe that was another contributing factor to Miss Oklahoma. You have a more global perspective.
Sure.
When you come back to a place like this, you know, America, Oklahoma, anywhere here, you realized how much you have and you realize how little you need. And to me, it's one of the best things that I've ever done, and I recommend anybody that has never gone out of the country that you should definitely go. And I've loved doing it because it is the exercise of kindness. That going there is my exercise of kindness.
Alex, I want you to look in this camera that's before you, and just want to give you that opportunity as we close our interview out to speak to the young person, the little girl, or just the young person that needs, excuse me, a word of encouragement. Just share what's on your heart to that person right now, if you would, please.
Absolutely. When I was growing up, there were times where people told me, or I even told myself, that I was not enough. And to me, that is the most poisonous message that could be delivered to any young person or any person in general. And to whoever is listening out there who thinks that they are not enough, that they are not worthy, that they are not good enough for anything, whether it's a job or a place on the basketball team or a place on the dance team or an education, you are wrong and you are worthy. And I think pageants sometimes breed that. We think that, oh, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not a good enough dancer or singer. I've had a lot of people criticize my dancing, and so I can relate on those levels. And my message to you is don't give up and that you are enough. And my kind of code that I talk about when I go to schools is the nerd code. And when I was younger, I was made fun of for being a giraffe because I was tall, and being a nerd because I liked to read and I liked science. And I never miss a day to wear high heels, by the way. But being a nerd, the nerd code means never giving up. No matter what anybody ever tells you, do not ever give up. And don't let anybody stand in your way of your dreams and what you want to do. The E stands for encourage. And if you don't like somebody, encourage them. I promise you it will completely change your heart. The R stands for respect. I don't care where you come from, what you look like, sound like, your circumstances. Respect every single person that you interact with. And the D stands for do your best. Whether you are picking up trash in the cafeteria at lunchtime, or you are the CEO of an oil and gas company, whatever you do, do the best that you can. Every single person has been gifted a craft, whether that craft is speaking or dancing or being a business person or being involved in the media. Whatever your craft is, do it well and do it with excellence, because that is what your purpose is, one of your purposes here on this earth. So I hope that encourages you. I hope that you realize that you are enough. And if I'm the only person in your entire life who has ever told you that, hear that now.
Nicely done.
Thanks.
Nicely done. Excuse me. Alex, this wasn't on our to-do list to ask a question, but I look at your sash and I see the Miss America 2014. There's a pin there,
Yes.
and then it says Miss Oklahoma,
Yes.
and the crown. Can you just tell the viewing audience really the significance, or maybe a story about the sash, that it blew off or something like that? I don't know, but just on the 4 points on the crown, is there significance in that crown, or is it just a crown?
There's a lot of significance to everything I'm wearing.
Okay.
First of all, I would be known as a very creepy person if I was not wearing the crown and sash and I walked into a school full of children with no identification. So this is kind of my ID.
Sure.
And I use the sash whenever I do an assembly as kind of a reward for any student that really listens to something that I said. So I take it off and I give it to, put it on a girl and I say, this is your Miss Oklahoma. And I have her do the pageant wave, which this is my pageant wave. It's not this anymore. Breaking stereotypes here. The crown does have 4 points, and they represent the 4 S's, if you will, of the Miss America system, which is scholarship, style, success, and service. And so there is meaning behind all of those. Wow. Any state title holder has these beautiful rhinestones on the sash. That was something that I looked very forward to. I was like, I want the sash with the rhinestones because I like things that are shiny. And so that's kind of the story behind here. This pin is from Miss America, so we all received, every state title holder received a pin when we went to Miss America, just showing that we were there and we participated in the Miss America system. And this is kind of claiming our mothership, if you will.
Sure. Well, I'm glad I asked, because I was just curious, because I thought you probably worn that sash everywhere. And
I love the sash.
And it's been in a variety of places and has seen a lot of people.
Yes, it
Well,
has.
you look the part. And Alex, I don't know if this equates to a crown or not. I know it doesn't. But when we have special people come and spend time with us here at the Enid Television Network and spend 30 minutes with me to talk about how you make a difference, we have a coin, has Enid, Oklahoma on it. And it's a two-sided coin. It has a different verbiage about what the community of Enid's all about. But that's our crown version to you to say thank you for being with us today.
Beautiful.
And, just congratulations on what you've achieved and what you're doing and the platform that you're doing, something so positive with the platform. So congratulations.
It's an honor. Thank you so much for this. This is
You're
beautiful.
welcome. You can't spend it
It's a good
anywhere.
token.
It's just
That's
something
okay. I wouldn't want to.
You just hang on to it.
Exactly.
It has a little weight to it. So
I
thanks,
like it.
Thanks for being on City Connections today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thank you for being with us on City Connections. And I hope you enjoyed this visit with Alex, Miss Oklahoma. And we learned a lot today. I know I have. Thank you for being with us. Until next time, make it a great day.